Imagine a world where we are deeply immersed in the mysteries of life and experience ourselves as sovereign and sacred. Join me for these intimate conversations from the heart, where we discover the power of the human spirit as each one of my guests shares their Tears to Triumph stories and how they were able to overcome their greatest moments of pain, separation, or suffering to become a way shower of love. Join me in welcoming today's special guest as I welcome each one of you. Welcome, beautiful souls, to the very first Conversation from the Heart series. And I'm really excited to announce today's special guest, Kristel Kanakit.
Thank you so much for having me as first guest in the Conversation from the Heart. I wasn't sure what we're going to be talking about exactly, and I signed up a while back, and I was like, just go for it and start being vulnerable and sharing your story. So thank you for hosting and getting us to share and inspire ourselves in listening to what we share, because sometimes I feel like I can learn from that, of like, oh, I shared about that, I didn't realize that comes up, and then also to meet others like-minded. So thank you, Cher.
Oh, you are so welcome. And thank you for saying yes. This has just been an idea that I thought, what a beautiful way for a community to come together to get to know each other and to share a little bit about our Tears to Triumph stories, what we've noticed that what propelled us, what it is that we were able to discover about ourselves in this journey of life that sometimes can feel very, very difficult. And yet there's really beautiful gifts in it as we begin to experience ourselves more as these sacred beings. And so, Kristel, one of the first questions I would love to ask you today, it's actually a quote from Oprah. And the quote is, one of the hardest things in life to learn are which bridges to cross and which bridges to burn. Can you share with me what comes to you as I say that?
As far as the quote and burning bridges, I would say, or not burning a bridge, um, recently, and it's really more in relationships that I've experienced that. Um, Being married for 15 years, having the culture, religion of you don't divorce, back and forth. But the marriage was really, after my wedding, I actually went into major sadness. So early stages, I already knew there were some things that need to be worked on. But, and I was committed to my husband and I to grow because I knew it wasn't going to be easy. Everybody said it's work. I'm like, I'm willing to do the work. But then it came to a point where he just kept on bringing up. I did bring up a lot. It's not working. I'm going to just go, let's get a divorce. And then when I got into that space of, oh, divorce, let me learn about that. What does that really look like, divorcing? But divorcing where I'm not repeating the same, and also divorcing where I'm not having resentment towards my spouse, which is not an easy thing when you're going through divorces you don't want. So in the stages of my marriage and the hardship of the marriage, I've didn't want to burn the bridge. It's like, it's my husband. This is who I committed to at the Catholic Church. This is who I am raising his daughter since she was 4. Like, I can't burn a bridge with that. Like, no. And I waited until he was like singing it again. I didn't take ownership of it because I was culturally, mom, you don't divorce, you don't divorce. And it was the last straw. And it was like, I gotta move on. I can't, this is, we're like going on like a, plane that's just not taking off. I'm like, we're not going anywhere.
Or the hamster wheel. What is
Yes,
it? Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I did not want to burn the bridge. I did have lessons in that. But then at some point, burn the bridge without necessarily being my intention of having no resentment. I had to heal. I had to go through the break. Don't communicate with me. Leave me alone type. And then eventually come back to, can we be friends in the sense of for the sake of not having that resentment? And actually, it's been what, 6 years since I've been divorced. And I've had to almost burn the bridge again by telling him, listen, I'm not your Betsy. We're in good terms, but you don't call me and text me all the time. So it's a different stages. Like that same relationship can have burning and not burning, and like going and not going. And all for me, it's being com being steady with my commitments, which is to really see the spark in everyone, but also growing into that boundary where it's healthy for me.
Beautiful.
And that is really impactful for me to start creating healthy boundaries.
Mm. So important for so many of us. And as you were sharing it, and the fact that he kind of revisits you and continues to keep the connection, and you not really feeling comfortable and burning the bridge. And I understand, that's almost like conscious uncoupling and stuff like that. But still carrying a little bit of that, and it made me think of our soul, a deeper part, because our personal self, we move on and we get through things, and yet the soul is here to repeat things until we get it,
Mhm,
until it really is an energy we're no longer carrying, and we don't need to continue to relearn something over and over and over again. So would you say for yourself, um, which I think is so important for so many of us, is healthy boundaries is part of learning how to love ourselves, and because we can't do that if we're focused on everybody outside of us, and making them more important. And so part of that is very uncomfortable for us in setting these boundaries, which are crucial for us in dropping into what soul love is, knowing ourselves,
mhm.
knowing what we need. And I'm willing to bet you're a totally different person today than you were when you first left.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's easier to say after the fact that I've created that healthy boundary, because if that healthy boundary wasn't there to start, there was something that was missing. And very
Mhm.
often for me, I would say was the feeling of love, love of the person from a distance, but also love to myself, where I can actually powerfully say, we're not in disagreement, but I also don't want you to text me, can I save your life right now? Like, you are not intending to do that when we're married. And it's forgiving, yes. And it's not like I don't have tension in my heart, which is the most powerful part for me to see where I stand. I don't have anxiety about it. It's just I don't want to be in that space. And I had a conversation with him, and I'm like, things have shifted for him, but they're more from the external still. He's not coming from the heart. So I still recognize that at the core, he's still that person that during our marriage wasn't very supportive, even the hardship time. And like until there's a next opportunity for him to present, like, hey, there's a hardship, who will it be? And I'm not really open to discovering that. I want him to continue his journey, wishing well. Like I am definitely someone who wants the best for everyone, even the person who's wronged me the most. It
Mhm.
hurts. Um, but yes, I am totally a different person now that I took that power of like not even responding to, hey, how are you?
Mm. Good.
That just really like, if you really were interested in who I am and how I am now,
Mhm.
it will go further than just that text. That text was just to kind of like, so it just really created a little like, let's sit with that, Kristel. But from a curious mind, right? Not like, oh, he's what? No. It's like more from a curious as a human as I discover myself too, of
Mm.
what's tolerable and not. And so that has been a process for me to, I always say I spend time with myself, I give myself the time, but it's a journey because it's different layers of that self-love.
So many layers.
Mhm.
So many layers. And it isn't something that you even know when you're going to reach. Who knows if we even reach a destination in this lifetime? I feel like it's an unfolding and a revealing and and another unfolding, unfurling of who we really are on a deeper, much, much deeper level. And so these people that come into our lives and stuff are mirrors for us to look at what it is that we're working on, what it is that we're healing. And so through them and this is the hardest thing for people to understand, is understanding that the outside is actually a reflection of what we are working on. And once we can understand that, it's like, holy moly, there's gifts everywhere. There's people popping up all over the place that are showing me some things are really feel really good. And
Mhm.
it's like, oh, I really like that. But it's because you got it in you. or something that's like, I'm not too sure I want to be around this anymore. And but that's important is that we discover who we are as we continue to evolve. And there's something about getting older, aging into our beauty and our wisdom and our truth.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about you and where you're going and some of these big dreams that you now are moving towards and after discovering.
So I recently had another relationship post marriage. So waited about a couple of years to heal that aspect. And then I got into a relationship that felt so different, so much love that felt so unconditional and supportive, which I did not have before. And I am totally aware of the reflection of things, right? So this is not when I mention my ex-husband or my ex-partner, it's not a blaming of them. It's there's the character that they've played in my
Right.
life.
Right.
So that relationship, I was so attached, like so attached. Like, Kristel, why? Like having this conversation, why are you so attached to this man when there there was some level of addiction and alcohol that I remember those days and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was on the floor crying, like, why am I in this? Why am I in that? But then there was the other aspect of it, which is he loved me in a way that every morning was like, good morning, babe. I remember my mom in the morning would be like, come on, kids, let's go, let's go. It was to rush. With him, I had peace and calm. So he showed me an aspect that I had never experienced. I could have heard it, seen it in a movie, but it's so different when you experience it. And it's like, do I want to let go of that person who calls me, texts me, and I'm thinking of you just because of who you are? I love how you think. Like he gave me all the affirmative words that I didn't have before, didn't know I needed. Um, and sometimes we say, well, it's validation. You don't need others to say, well, I was so broken from never having that, that having it was like, wow, this person sees me. And there was a different level, honestly, of how I felt seen by him. Like after my first date with him, there was an energy of not just a chemical energy, but like, oh my gosh, something got lifted, a veil of I'm being seen by this man in a way that I never experienced before. So that was very powerful for me. But I'll tell you, he is a product of the result of something that I did, is that I affirmed every day. I had the book of higher power, higher level of love, or something like that. I remember. And for 7 minutes, I had a timer with a candle, and I affirmed all those beautiful words of higher level of love. And I imagine myself walking and having somebody holding my hand. That man was holding my hand all the time. So I really imagined how it would feel to have a level of love that I had never experienced, never seen in any of my family members. So it was magical for me. But there was a polarity to that. There was another level that I ended up disconnecting myself just to experience that love. And that was a major break of my heart that I don't think even had with my ex-husband, because I felt so seen and so, and it was really me seeing myself, right?
Yes.
I was seeing
Yeah.
myself. I was seeing the beauty of who I was, not beauty of just, outside,
Right.
but beauty of like, oh my gosh, when I share with a client, they feel like I'm hearing their pain. I can help them with their mortgage because that's what I do. Mortgage lender. So I'm starting to see, because as I affirm those words, I was affirming it for myself so I can attract that. So me being that, I can attract it. So it was beautiful. I felt like a candle, like we come together and it's like melting together. But we're
Mm.
human, and there was a lesson he had for me in that too. And
Mhm.
that lesson was the disconnect, which is a disconnect that I've experienced as I'm going. I mean, I put words into things now a little bit after the fact because of the experience, like, I was probably experiencing disconnect, and my disconnect was soul level love,
Mm.
right? Really seeing not myself as a human, because he
Right.
lifted that veil, but now from the eyes of God, from
Yeah.
the eyes of my higher self. So my level of depth of love just kept on growing. And
Mhm.
I'm grateful for my ex-husband for that. I'm grateful for my ex-partner for that. And I'm grateful for not having a partner to do that with right now. And it's really connecting with myself, with God, with Christ, with the archangels. I'm into all of those things. I'm in Manchester right now, which is really the place to ground and understand, to know, mirror, see where my disconnect is with that. After a while being here in the US, because I'm originally I'm originally French, I even used to say, Jesus, I'm sorry, but I got to study Buddha because there's too much going on with Christianity. Like, I apologize. Like, I felt disconnected and I had to say, sorry, but I got to figure this out too.
Yeah.
And then going towards Christianity. So all those relationships were seeking what we call going home, seeking my heart, seeking loving myself so that I can continue to attract. But now I love godly relationship, partnership where we are working together for the growth of ourselves, but a ripple effect with others.
Right.
So from the aspect of growth, um, being in Manchester right now and a different layer of my onion being peeled off, now I'm doing the work of godly relationship. And that's even with my clients in the mortgage industry. I literally today, about an hour ago, had a conversation with a client and I just really listened to her and heard her pain. And she just said, Kristel, thank you so much. I mean, that's not what I do per se. I mean, that's a skill that
Right.
I want to bring to the table to clients so they can feel that difference. But she felt hurt. She felt like I'm showing her another side of what we can do. And I've always been that type of person for my clients, but I'm like being more open to that now, where I'll just go with it. Like it feels natural. I just go with it. So it's even the partnership or the business that I do, I've asked for it to be more of alignment with how I am and who I am, not just as a lender, but Kristel in general, because that core of who I am is a godly person. It's a person who, and those are even new words for me to say godly, but it's really that spark that I see in myself, my gift, my skills. Um, Skills to me would be more of what I've learned along the way, but the gift is that core of who I am, that love that I've always been, but I basically covered for the masculine business of mortgages, of numbers. And it's like I had a training of this is what we need to do. I'm like, those are still masculine. What if I do it more in the feminine and definitely balance it out? So it's helping me grow in all aspects of my life.
Mhm. You know, what you're saying doesn't feel random to me at all. In fact, nothing is random, right? And so all of this is by divine design, and the fact that you are very into your soul self and the embodying more of your higher self. And of course, the divine, when we connect to that aspect of ourselves, we connect to the divine in a different way. And the divine will, energy will flow through us. And so, the fact that you are seeing yourself as the divine spark and whatever it is, that doesn't matter what we're doing. And so, really being present and witnessing somebody for who they are instead of the task of being a lender. There's that's kind of cold and separate, and it says like get down to business. And now it's like, no, let me see you and hear you.
Mhm.
And this is the beauty about us dropping in and becoming present in our own lives and really witnessing ourselves as sacred and as soul. And there is really truly some alchemical something that happens, and the mind isn't going to totally be able to understand and unravel it. But the thing is to bring the mind in with us into this journey and have the union of I believe the union is the mind is the masculine and the heart, I believe, is the feminine, and
Mhm.
it's the masculine and the feminine within. And so when you were talking even about the relationships, I couldn't help but think you had this book and you had this ideal of what a relationship would be. And he was showing you something that you were longing for only so that you could go, because you know it was possible. So now I understand how this works on a soul level. So now I understand I'm not going to look for another partner until I can truly give it to myself.
Yes,
And when I can love myself the way I want somebody else to love me, then I know I can enter into a sacred relationship, partnership.
definitely. We
Yeah,
got it. Yes. Mhm.
yeah. And there's something so beautiful when we get out of our way,
Mhm.
and we don't even know how it happens because it's sort of like a surrendering, right? It's like I don't know about you, but for me, I remember it was like, I don't think I can figure this out on my own. So I give this to you, you know, and let thy will be my will. Let thy will be done. Not even knowing, because I didn't grow up in a religious environment at all. And
Mhm.
my idea of God was it was tainted and it was twisted and it was what more than half of the people believe, and it's not true. So people like you, people like me, people like many of the people that will be in this group or gravitate towards it are all going to know the same thing. And we're all going to be message bearers of the same thing, just in a different way.
Mhm. Yes. We're
So
bridgers.
yeah, so it's so beautiful witnessing somebody, because a lot of people would say, well, that's the old me. I don't know how to be of service now that I know me and in my divine way. And yet you're showing us you can still do that, but you're also seeing things in the industry that even though they're trying to work towards bringing in more feelings and emotions and stuff like that, you can still see that it's still masculine. And so who knows, Kristel, maybe you will be one that goes and makes these changes.
So that is a little bit intimidating and yet like exciting because
But
that
who
happens when
better?
Mhm.
Who better
Right.
than
It's been a
somebody who
battle of
knows
mine
it?
since I've been in the mortgage industry for over 25 years. So I started in that career, and that's another disconnect. And I'm working on, how do I bridge a disconnect? Because it's a perception, that disconnect, right? I'm not saying it doesn't exist when you have a disconnect, but when the market crashed in 2008 and I was a loan officer at that time, I swore to myself, I am never going to be a loan officer again. When I saw what happened then, what people experienced, I said, I'm not doing this anymore. What I ended up doing is taking a training called landmark education, and it shifted my perception. I'm like, wait, with that job, I have an opportunity to actually design my life based on how I want it to be created versus taking orders from others in my office of what they want. So I have been pushing, and not necessarily the best word for me to say, but it's really pushing myself out of my comfort and seeing how can I still be an originator, a business owner, and all of those, even if it feels uncomfortable, because it's my perception of what this is.
Mhm.
Sales and all, it's really a communication and education. But the majority do business differently. So when I hear them, it's like, oh, maybe I'm too different. So it's again, be holding a higher standard for myself. Like I don't have to conform to them. But that is so heavy and so big of the people who are making the major numbers. That's because they're doing it this way, that way, that way, that way, and versus I'm doing it that way. So I'm learning, and that's my current journey. When you ask me the question, where am I heading, what I'm up to, it's really, it's not easy. I'm not like, oh, I've mastered this, but this is something I'm working on mastering and I'm committed to, where I'm not saying I'm going to be forever a loan officer, but it's that unfolding in that aspect of that masculinity and really creating the balance, not necessarily making it more feminine. It's just creating the balance where someone like myself actually can bridge for clients who need me versus what they think is only one way to be a loan officer. Let's say, but maybe the banker, the person who works in the bank 8 to 5. So it's just all that aspect that has been um my commitment for the last, I would say even more since my divorce. I'm committed to myself for my career and how I show up. And that's the journey I'm on when it comes to my career.
Mhm.
I would say the 3 words that I heard on Sunday from my spiritual teacher, Sunday service that he provides: seek, find, and embody. And when I reflected before our call, since I signed up, of course, when you put something in the future, other things will come up. It's like, oh, this is what you might want to get into, right? That's why I encourage people to just like, let's put something in the calendar for 6 months if necessary, but at least you know you're working towards something. So it has allowed me having that conversation with you today, to drop into my heart, into my mind, into my whole beingness. It's like, what can I share about that will show those aspects? And it's me coming to the US after high school, where I was seeking to actually do something different than going to college or university, to say in France. Like, Mom, I don't want to do this. And having a sabbatical year that has turned a lifetime here. So that was not necessarily burning the bridge, but creating a new bridge. And then embodying being here in the US and not being a US citizen. But then my divorce, then my relationship with my partner and who I am today. It's like I'm seeking different way of living, having the courage to be a catalyst for my own life, finding answers with education, with the course that I'm doing with you, with webinars, and then embodying those aspects. And that has been I see that has been my pattern. Um, Sometimes I do tell myself, okay, can you just take a break and do nothing? But that has been my pattern. I seek, I find, and then I embody, and then I repeat those three words in aspects, and then I get more and more excited of who I am becoming.
Oh, that's so, and I love that you say that because it is such a beautiful journey that we're all on. And it is one of becoming.
Mhm.
And then sort of one of who am I being? From becoming to being.
Right.
And it's for each one of us, it's unique. And moving into, a different experience of ourselves as we, it's not like we're going anywhere. We just are entering fifth dimension because we can see it. We can perceive fifth dimension because our vibration, we've done the work, we've done the clearing, we've allowed ourselves to do the healing. And so now, when they say some will experience a new paradigm, a new way of seeing, a new world, a new way of being, it's true because we are now resonating and seeing a different reality versus some that are still stuck. And, each of us are on our own path, our own journey, but it's beautiful because the more of us, like you, say yes and do the work, the more we can influence and impact others. And so it is beautiful that we all are woven into different places. And the institution of banking is one that really needs to be, it needs to
Revamped.
restructuring. It needs to be, it is a new building of the way that we do business. And
Mhm.
so you are placed, Kristel, I believe everything is for a purpose, for a design. I believe our conversation is by design. I believe that we met each other by design. I do believe that we're being guided much more than we know. And so I have to share with you. I heard you use that word bridge. I don't know how many times today. And I just think it's so beautiful because you wove it in to your story, into who it is you are becoming,
Mhm.
where you journeyed from and where you're going to, and this middle piece, this middle way, exactly perfect where you are now. It's not like you're trying to get to anywhere other than here with us,
Mhm.
sharing with us from your heart and letting us, feel you and go with you on this journey. And I thank you.
Thank you.
And I invite you to come back again and we'll have another conversation and we can keep doing this. And thank you for being the brave soul that said yes. And I ask you, is there any final words? What is it that you would love to share? Is there any message for the viewers, for us?
Um, Having the courage to take one step at a time and to trust. It may not seem easy, but the more we step out of comfort, so that courage to, what, this resonates with me, let me try it out. What do I have to lose? If it fails, I'll just do something else. And the more that I have done that, the less failures I really see. I experience beauty, even my coming to Mount Shasta, Arizona. So whatever resonates with you, have the courage to step into it, even if it's a small step, because that builds on that courage. And sure, so this is a journey, it's an experience. I think also when I hear the lessons and all, they end up being really, this was an experience. Okay, great. What's the next experience? And being excited for experiences, even if they may seem like a trauma and all. And I don't know, when I just said the word trauma, I know some lessons are harder for others or they seem harder, but they're happening for a reason. I may not be experiencing somebody else trauma for because there's something else there for me. And it's being open to hearing what's there for me and having the courage to get out of the way and take a step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And also one more thing about the fact that I'm in Manchester. A lot of people ask me, mostly the ones that I know, is like, so when are you coming back? How long are you staying there? I'm like, I don't know. Because I am taking one step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
People may say, well, Kristel, your life is different. It's just about you. Well, I had a stepdaughter. I had a marriage. I had all those. We all have our circumstances. But I've always taken a step of like, just try it out.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know how to try it out, reach out to me and I'll open up for you. Like, try this, or I'll go with you. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why we have community. That's the number one thing, too. In any of my journey, any of my I know you asked for one thing and look at me.
It's okay. It's okay. Go with the flow.
What When I did my 1 year transformational work with landmark education, which I graduated, I finished, and I'm complete with that. And that's the thing with me is that I graduate from things and I let go and I burn the bridge. It's like, I'm done with this. Let's move on so I can keep on growing. It was community that helped me through my divorce. It was community that helped me when I left the island of Guadeloupe, where I'm from, to come to the US, even though it was a 1 year sabbatical. It was community and environment. So definitely check the environment. Where are we in this environment? Is it a supportive one? If it's not, find one that even if it's once a week that you can talk to and feel the support. At that time, my ex-husband said, or husband at that time said, you're in a cult. I knew that I wasn't in a cult. I was being brainwashed, but brainwashed with so many beautiful things,
Oh,
possibilities with love. So I was like, you know what? I like that brainwash. They're washing my brain pretty well. So, supporting community,
yeah.
sacred space
Yeah.
is the supporting community.
I told you you were a messenger for me. I knew it because this is what, I knew that you can't create a community by yourself. You can't. And so, yes, I might have had a vision, and yet the community can only be created by the members in it.
Yes.
And so you are going to be an important member if you say yes to keeping us, engaged in the conversation and supporting each other. And I absolutely had no doubt in my mind today that you were going to be a messenger in some way, and now I received it. So I thank you so
Oh,
much
thank
for
you.
that. Yeah, so
Mhm.
beautiful. So beautiful. And I think that's a really good place to end. And I invite you to join me again. And I think we should create some kind of a community fireside chats, whatever it is. I don't know what the name will be, but where we can come together and go into breakout rooms, or if it's a small enough size group, just open discussion,
Mhm.
sharing, and then keep the flow going and see, and there are other people here too that will be drawn to offer things. And I even said that in my, when you sign up, approach me, let me know. And because I'm only one small part of
Mm.
this. So I
So you're a
think,
major pillar, and I thank you for being that pillar for sacred conversation and sacred space. So thank you.
and I thank you for saying yes and sharing with us who you are on a much deeper level, that we could feel you, really feel you. And
Thank
it's
you.
beautiful. Thank you for taking us on this journey.
Thank you, Sherry.
Mm. Many blessings to you and many blessings to everyone. And bye for now.